while we wait for Cosgrove to come on, let's see what we have here. Why was I not talking? They're headphones. Yes, these headphones belong to Allie. I had a regular Beats like this, and then they just broke. I wore them way too much. But somewhere in my shelf, I have a limited edition. Hold on, I'll just get it and I'll show it to you. Hold on. So hey, look, I have how you like these now? You never seen these before, which is exactly what I thought. But I leave them in the box. I don't use these. I don't wear them. Yo, what is this? You're like your first time.
Open the box. No one believes you. No one believes you. Open the box.
I'm not opening that box. You know what that thing costs?
That's just a box with the logo on the front. No one believes you.
Well, that's totally fine. I'm not opening the box because it's totally sealed, which, you can't tell. I don't know. But I refuse to open, like, God knows what this thing cost me. So I'm
that's
not.
That's like breaking open your original Star Wars figures. Immediately the value is gone.
That's absolutely right. Where I'm looking around. So somewhere in here, I have a number of things that are opened and a number of things that are not open. So let's see. Hey, what do you got behind me? All right, so you got a couple pops. They're all in the box. I keep all the pops in the box. So like this one. So this is a special limited edition, my favorite Disney character, Scrooge. And you see he's wearing this very appropriate swimsuit because, like him, I would like to dive into a giant tower of gold in Duckburg.
And like him, you'd like to be Scottish.
Yeah, well, it's I think there's always up for discussion where exactly Duckburg is, but I do believe it is in Scotland, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, well, if we were to stereotype the accents that we hear from the likes of Scrooge McDuck and his arch nemesis Glomgold, which of course you knew that, then they might actually sound like they're from Scotland.
Yeah, well, also we have Mike Myers, who's completely Scottish from Canada.
Okay.
And
well, obviously, so what I always get this stuff mixed up. So Halifax is not Newfoundland. Like, yeah, Halifax is west of Newfoundland. Let me see. Do I have any of my Canadian staff? Yeah, Garrett. Hey, look, I'm waving at you, Garrett. All right, so now listen to me. Garrett, I would like for you to jump in here and confirm where is it, like, where everybody's from Scotland and Ireland and Canada, and they have like their own language where we played where Carl lives. Where does Carl live? And I'm talking to you, Garrett. If you're not listening, then we have a problem here. Okay, anyway, there'll be some kind of delay here in his response. But it's like
Nova Scotia means New Scotland, and their flag is the Scottish flag inverted with the old Scottish flag in the middle.
Yeah.
There's also a place near you guys, Kearney in New Jersey, is a really kind of weird area where everybody there seems to be just arrived from Scotland in this little village.
Well, I just ran out of charge on this, so I'm taking these off.
Put the Disney ones on, Charlie.
Dude, I'm not doing that. No, you're right. Nova Scotia is Scotia. That's how they say it, and that's the what do they call, like, the end of the earth or something like that. Like, that's the most east you can get in North America.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So
look at you dropping the geography.
No, well,
on our little IG live. You guys thought you were going to hear about training and all kind of cool stuff? No.
Well,
Disney Beats headphones, Scrooge McDuck, and Nova Scotia.
We have set the tone over the last several weeks that training is one of the least important topics to talk about on these things. I think there's enough opportunities for that, and that way nobody has the opportunity to agree or disagree. And look who we have.
Oh, I was wondering where she would arrive.
There you
guys
go.
know each other?
Oh, see, look, you're making it buzz on this. Yeah, I think there's something with my gimbal or whatever it's called that it buzzes when I don't know how to turn it off. Like, so
when Ali comes over.
Anyway, so that's all very accurate information on Scotland. I will not open up my Mickey 90th birthday limited edition Beats. So let's see. Looks nice out there. How's it going out there in
It's all right.
California?
It's still it's just like the whole vibe is kind of weird still. Like we're the most locked down, masked place and doing the worst.
Look, it's the logic is very poor, and it's a terrible situation when people have so much taken away from them. It's all that can be said. Like, I don't know how anybody can look at this and be like, that don't worry, like it'll work out. Like, who I don't know how anybody can say that right
well,
now.
I think if we'd done all the without getting like political or anything like that, if we'd locked down and had eradicated this, we'd have been like, we did it right. But we've been locked down for restaurants have been closed for 6 months, outdoor dining for a month, gyms the whole time, 9 months. And our numbers were yesterday. There was 11,000 new cases in LA alone.
Yeah, what I message a lot of people that live closer to LA than I think a lot of people probably think that you live in Los Angeles County is enormous. You want to question my geography? I got more than one trick in this hat. So, but you still live in Los Angeles County. But
that's the thing.
It's far.
It's so big. It doesn't make sense for it to be a county. It's 10 million people.
Yeah.
And you could be in Lancaster, 125 miles from Long Beach, and one of them could have an outbreak and the other one closes, but 20 miles away in Anaheim, it could be open, right? But I mean, we could go into geography with state lines and county lines and things, and just a line in the ground. Like, it's just an arbitrary place, right?
Like here, New York appears to be like the epicenter of public restrictions. Now, it's nothing like California. There, you can be mobile, you can do certain things. I'm pretty sure you can still eat outside, even though it's in the 30s here.
Yeah.
So, but the recognition, because here there's so many people that live in a neighboring state, whether it's New Jersey to Pennsylvania, New Jersey to New York, Connecticut to New York.
Yeah.
So, when I fly back in, I still have to do all the email, or you have to do it by hand. And well, first of all, what's really disappointing is that there's not always someone there off the plane. It used to be just like what appeared to be McDonald's workers that were off the plane, and they're either looking at your phone or they're glancing at your phone. But not every time is there even someone there. And I have it filled out because I'm just trying to, as a healthcare professional, if I get in trouble, my discipline is much higher. And look, I'm just being honest. If something happened, I'd follow whatever the rules are, whether I agree or not. I'm not sure that's an option. However, over the last several weeks, those McDonald's workers, I thought they're probably reservists, but they're not National Guard. I mean, I can tell. Not everybody can tell when you see someone wearing fatigues. First of all, they would not be a Marine, because you never see a Marine with fatigues in public. Marines always wear civvies. But you when you're in the airport, you see sailors, you see soldiers, etc. And you can see like what branch they're from. So they're probably reservists that are now checking. But here's the thing. Because one of the questions they ask is, what is your final destination? And my honest final destination is Connecticut, not New York, even though I'm flying into New York.
Yeah.
So I didn't know this the first couple times, but then it just said, you're good. You get a green check, and you have to look like this to see the date. So, I could use any week over the since July that I fly every week. And you just take your phone and you hold it up, because they're just looking for the green check. But I take a screenshot. They send you an email that doesn't get there in time. Like, you get off the plane, the email hasn't even come through. But because I go to Connecticut, I'm exempt from because where I live in Connecticut is like what you're talking about with the borders. I can literally throw a rock to New York in my neighborhood. Where I live in Greenwich literally borders a town called Rybrook. I played college baseball. Nothing special. I am from Toms River, so I didn't suck. But I can literally throw a ball from my house into New York. And I noticed that it goes from question 5 to question 8 because my final destination is not in New York. They ask you a whole bunch of other questions if your final destination is New York. Because I'm like, I'm not worried about it. I'm going to follow the rules, and whatever. But I get a green check, and people from New York don't, because unless they have, I think it's like 24 hours. There's a bunch of rules that no one even knows. But I've never seen questions 6 or 7, which apparently are a little
You're
bit
going
more
an extra mile. Extra mile.
Yeah, that's it. But it's because they live in New York. But the first time I wasn't scared, but I was a little nervous to see how this was going to go, because supposedly Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey are supposed to have all the same rules as it relates to flying.
Which makes sense with being so close together, right?
But they don't. You are more restricted if your final destination is New York, which, as I mentioned, is, let me see, kind of like right over there. I think the obviously there's rules that are state driven versus federal, but it just seems so strange. But how different states have such totally different rules and whatnot. But I asked people that live closer to LA, people that live in Santa Monica, people that live in LA proper. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? What is going on? Like, are you like licking people? Like, what are you doing? Like, people running around naked like it's Woodstock in 1965 or whenever the hell Woodstock. I mean, it's very strange. And I was asking the same people in Florida. But now Florida is basically do whatever you want. No math. No, anything's open now.
And numbers are better than California.
Yeah, like they're not going crazy anymore. Like they're not skyrocketing. And I will be very honest. Obviously, I'm completely biased, as evidenced by this ungodly expensive Beats that Disney was not unsafe. That was a risk that I chose. Looking back, I would not argue with anybody that said I shouldn't have gone. However, it is clearly safer there than the Whole Foods down the street. Like, no question.
Yeah, you and I talked about this very early, that it's like we discussed that, and that was one of your thoughts, is that it's like I find it unlikely that Disney California could not do it to the same standards as Disney Florida. Like I think you could do. I think that I've had this debate with people, and it's always like I feel as a spokesperson in our profession, I have to be vocal that I think gyms can open safely, particularly appointment-based gyms. So I'm kind of vocal on that, but it's probably fair to point out that's not my only source of income, right? Like, I'm not as affected as other people, but I've always felt like, tell me how to open safely. And the question shouldn't be, what is it that you do? That should be, the criteria should be the same. If it can be done safely, it can be done safely. If masks and social distancing work, then 2 masks and double social distancing will still work, right? It'll work better, right?
Yeah. Well, I think when we talked about this several weeks or months ago, it is no longer the case in Connecticut. In Connecticut, the rule was gyms open, and if you were 6 feet apart, you had to wear a mask. Okay, not the end of the world. I train with a mask wherever I go. It's totally fine. It's not, whatever. You pick the right mask. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
I understand. Like, I have some very, very close friends that are like wearing tinfoil hats. They're still my friends. But like, to me, I'm not offended. If someone else is, then that's totally whatever. I'm not even being political. Like, I just don't care. I'm more apathetic on this.
I'm in the same boat as it.
It doesn't hurt me.
It's not the shield I'm prepared to die on, mask or not.
If somebody gets into, well, you're taking my rights away, like, I would tell me. I'm interested in what you're saying. To a degree. Yeah. Now, the thing in Connecticut was, if you were 12 feet apart, no mask. So basically, if you were 11 feet, 8 inches apart, buckle up. But if you were 12 feet and 4 inches apart, you're nice. You're good. They have since done away. They've since done away with that in Connecticut. New York, you can. I don't know what the percentages are for amount of people in the gym, but everybody has to wear a mask from start to finish. Whatever, just wear. But the gyms that I go to are not like, I don't know how they stay open because there's no, people just aren't there.
Yeah, I think that's the challenge, is that there's a consumer mindset that's definitely, definitely in California, that restaurants are dangerous, gyms are dangerous, and that seems to be sticking around. That's the tough part. How do those businesses come back from that? Mm-hmm. It's a long time to change a consumer behavior. In 9 months of not being allowed to go to a restaurant or to go to a gym, it does change the behavior. I've seen a study recently, and it's actually a scary study. It was showing masks and lockdowns in states with them, in counties with them, and those without. And they were kind of showing not a whole lot of difference. Like, this thing just may be unstoppable. Like, there may be no non-pharmaceutical interventions that really make that much of a difference. Now, I didn't dig deep into the study. I'm not an epidemiologist, but from an observational point of view, it doesn't seem clear that we have an answer for this.
Yeah. I'm closer overall. I'm not embarrassed at all to say, to be just overall, regardless of the topic, apolitical. Like, if there's something that's very, very important to me, I vote based on that and other things. And I think, but like, you see, like, I don't even know what to say. It's just, you just throw your hands up, and similar, there's other sources of income that have not kicked me in the balls like a lot of other people have. And it's terrible. Yeah. It's terrible because I just don't understand what. Here's an analogy. I was talking with a patient today about how different states have different rules in terms of what different healthcare providers are allowed to do and not allowed to do. ATC versus PT. What state can you dry needle, but you can't dry needle? Where that's a state decision. And I gave her the example. Now, here's a story. So when I started physical therapy school, I was 20 years old. So if people think I'm loud,
like 5 years ago, wow,
yeah, something like that. If people think I'm loud and obnoxious now, imagine when I was 20 and thought I owned the world. So I already was an ATC because that was my undergrad, and there was 50 people in our class to start before they started kicking people out. Of which a few after this discussion, I almost became one of them. I was told in my first semester of physical therapy school that I might not be compatible with the profession. Anyway, it was like I don't remember the name of the class. It was like political issues or something like that. And the instructor who was on the faculty, she was also, and still is now 20 years later, the president of the board of physical therapy. She's in charge of the board that's in charge of the state. So if you get in trouble, you got to sit in front of these characters. Oh. So one of the issues that they were talking about is athletic trainers. And I don't care. If you're good, you're good. If you're not, you're not. But my point was, she was saying things that were false, basically. Like she was saying this, that, and the other thing. And because I was 20 and thought I owned the world, I raised my hand and I said, I don't get, this is her, I don't care. We say her name, like Dr. Kirsch, because I'm telling the truth here. I'm saying exactly what happened. I said, as an ATC, I feel qualified to say that what you are saying is either not true or not always true. I don't know your experience, but I do know that you have 49 people in the room that are going to believe everything you say. And what you're saying is not true. And here's the reality. In the state of New Jersey, and I think this is still the case, if you're an athletic trainer, you only exist in pro sports, college, a school, or a camp. At which point you can practice physical agents like hot pack and ultrasound and electric stim, all the things that people would associate with physical therapy. You can do that at your school. But if you want to work for, open a business or work with physical therapists, you're in another building that's a pub, open, not one of those locations, you're no longer allowed to do ultrasound. You can only plug in the machine for the therapist. And I said, like, so can you please explain to everybody here, what would be the difference that determines that I am safe to ultrasound Alwyn Cosgrove in the training room in the building of my college? Yeah. But if he and I walk across to student health, I am no longer safe to do that. Can you explain that to everybody? And she of course said nothing, if that I remember, or that had any legitimate response. It was probably something political. I then was threatened to be thrown out of physical therapy school. My point is, like, it's not logical. I mean, there's a lot of stories of that.
Well, you could disagree with the reason if it follows a train of logic.
No logic.
You're like this. There's no logic to this. That if I'm a soccer player in the training room, it's fine, and if I'm not a soccer player, it's not fine, right? That the logic there just completely it doesn't even collapse. It doesn't exist.
Yeah. Right. Where here's another story, and I think I shared this one with Ethan a couple of weeks ago. As I mentioned, I'm very apolitical, and in New Jersey, it was coming up to the time where they could change the laws. And New Jersey had gone back and forth with dry needling, and ultimately it was always one of these: don't do it for now, but we'll take care of this later, or it doesn't say whether you can or can't, but we support that you do it. It was all this. So it's always like donate, and I donate to multiple causes. I do not support like the NATA, the APTA, because I don't agree with what they do. So I'm not going to give you money, and you're going to harm or hold down other professions that I don't think you should do. So I never participate in these types of things, except this time. And it was an email. And if you hit reply all, then you would get the it would go to all of your senators. It would be like, write a letter to your representative. So they set it up where if you just hit reply all, I'm like, dude, I have to, like, how do I not do this? This is so wrong. So I typed up two paragraphs. I don't remember if I'm saying it the exact way that I wrote it, but the first paragraph was, I hope that when this gets discussed in Trenton, which is the capital of New Jersey, that I know this is a discussion of safety, where the acupuncture folks say that physical therapists are not safe because acupuncturists take 2,000 hours to do something that a physical therapist can do in a much shorter period of time. There's some logic to that. However, there are safeguards that I could teach you how to needle. Well, you will never harm somebody. You could piss them off, but basically, if you have a bony backdrop, and you go too far or too hard, you're going to hit bone. Like you don't treat where you don't have a bony backdrop. It's now you can treat wherever you want, but you're on the hook. So I said, like, they're going to say it's unsafe, and physical therapists say it's safe. I hope you do your diligence. However, I hope you can also talk about market share, because to say that there's nothing to do with this, I'm going to tell you right now that, yes, I absolutely am interested in taking market share away from an acupuncturist, because in the country of America, I think people should get to decide that if they want a needle put in them, it could be because of the thousands of Western literature, the pages of Western literature that I can show you why I'm doing it. And if somebody else feels that they want energy and meridians flowing in their body, they should be allowed to do that too. Yeah. There's no, like, why can't the person decide? Because the reality is, if I don't use a bony backdrop and I go too far and I puncture your lung, of which there's very little evidence to support that happens, but with Western therapeutic dry needling, I'm in trouble anyway. I'm on the hook. So that was whatever. But then the second one, I knuckled up. I said, ma'am and sirs, in 2009, I learned how to do dry needling as the lead physical therapist for the United States Marine Corps Special Operations Command. All right, now I'm pulling. Hold on, I'm pulling rank. Yeah, I left with that right there. Tell me if you. And I said, I would like to ask you to consider the logic of, I am allowed with my New Jersey license, because when you're a therapist in the military, you just need a license in any state, and then you can work anywhere, because you're not really in a state when you're on a military base.
Yeah.
So I said, this is the license in question. I'm using my New Jersey license when I was with MARSOC. And I learned how to do dry needling there for the men and women that allow us to actually have this conversation, that allow you to sit in the Capitol and decide law based on your expert opinions. Can you please explain how I am safe with my New Jersey license to dry needle them, but I can't dry needle someone in the state of New Jersey? Now, I didn't write this to get a response. I'm bringing the story because it's so illogical where that what the people in some states like California have to deal with versus what someone else is dealing with. I mean, I don't get it. I
think that the hard part is when an intervention doesn't work. You and I have discussed this with other things. When an intervention doesn't work and the response is to do more of it. Okay. And then we're now locking down harder, mask harder, lock down harder. I'm like, all right, I'll buy it for a little while. But at some point, I'm like, all right, clearly we need a completely different approach right now. Right.
Yeah, I forget who I was talking to today where I brought that up, where it was a patient that I saw this morning where we were talking about some of her lack of success with previous physical therapists. And she was describing what she was doing. And I said, you were doing good things out of context. Like I can't say that was a bad exercise or did it make sense, except you're using that exercise, which is a brilliant choice to improve physiological qualities like strength or some kind of deeper level of science of adaptation. But and if you do that 3 sets of 10 for 4 weeks, we're pretty sure something's going to happen.
Yeah.
But when you look to change pain or change the strategies that you use to do those 3 sets of 10, that's a completely different stimulus. And you can't just do 3 sets of 10 and expect something to happen. You might do 1 set of 10. You might do it once. And then you keep going, because what she was describing was, and I will do my best to not carry on from Twitter today. But she's like, yeah, I do these. I do these exercises. I was doing these exercises, and my rib position would change, but then it would just come right back. And I'm like, yeah, because the exercises you were doing had no logical progression. They just want so you do think of like when you train, when you do 1 week, you add weight the next week because the stimulus is no longer. So you were doing the same thing over, so you were just required more. And there's some models that are very effective, except they're, in my opinion, they're set up on purpose to get you to spin your wheels so that you are in debt to this model. That's my opinion. But the reality is she just kept doing the same thing, and it didn't work any. It worked almost every time, but then just didn't last.
It doesn't stick. Ali and I talked about this when we were in England. That people will come to her and go, when I did this diet, it worked so well for me. I lost 30 pounds. And this person is 50 pounds higher than that right now. And you're like, that diet failed. But the big picture, when we add in those extra times, that didn't work. For this little period of time, it worked, but it didn't stick with you.
Well, I said, you had a very good, because I'm better. And look, the character I play on TV is not always the same one that I use when people are paying me a lot of money per hour. Hey, you did a great plan A. We just have to come up with plan B. I don't have any problem. You can go back to plan A, but let me show you what you'll do next to make it more sustainable. But that's the logic that, unfortunately,
I think it's hardly. I don't like ever to. I believe everyone is doing the best they can. Every therapist, every trainer is doing the best they know how. I don't think anybody's intention, as a whole. I'm sure I can think of an exception, right? As a whole, no one is trying to be unethical and harm people, but the best you knew how got you to here, right? So I'm now you showed up here. If we just did the same thing, then I'm doing you a disservice, right? But at some point, I think your political correctness there is. It's nice, excellent, well done. But now we're going to go further on. Right?
Well, that's the thing where there are, as I have attempted to deconstruct things that I don't care for because something just doesn't smell right. and I'm pretty much batting 1,000 on those. There's no way to make the principles that are excellent, that are correct, in my opinion. You can't exploit those principles in a progressive fashion. And if you can't do that, you're going to be like what's happening in your state. Like, you keep doing the same thing over and over again. You can't even do more of it and get a better result. It's like, which is an inefficient process to begin with.
Yeah.
Like where you guys are at, it seems like, okay, you lock down more, you wear more masks. What, you got to wear masks in the house or something? What are you doing? And the numbers still go up. I
think it's because we're not wearing masks in the shower.
How about that?
I think if we wear masks in the shower, I think we'll fix it.
Yeah, because the water supply from Mexico is coming up a little bit, so you have to wear a mask so the water doesn't get in your mouth in the shower. So.
We've cracked it. That's what it is. Something was on TV today about I believe it was somewhere in Asia, but it was from COVID-19 through aerosols from fecal transmission in an apartment block.
Yes. So you're gonna hang around with poop.
That's gonna change things. That's gonna change the approach.
Wow, that's that's really disgusting. That's foul. So what else? You couldn't go home this year, right?
No, I went home back to Scotland. For everybody who's listening, that aside at the start of this was not just a coincidence. I managed to go last year 4 times, and I've went every year for my dad's birthday, which is the start of December, for about 4 years now. So this year is a little bit of a bummer. But similarly, he's older. He's had 2 strokes. He's not in great shape. If there was a risk that I could catch something on a plane and then give it to him, I don't want to take that risk either. I don't know enough to say that an 11-hour flight to Europe is a zero risk. Right? I don't know enough. So the time they're talking about a 2-week quarantine either end, which if I came back, I could do it at home. But going there, I would have to stay in a hotel for 2 weeks, and I couldn't go and see him. So there was a little while like the logistics weren't a thing anyway. But yeah, I didn't get to go this year. But the cool thing with like technology is that you don't feel it's still better to see people for real. Like it still is, but it's the technology. It's a little easier than it used to be. Like I can remember being in college and like I think I had to use the payphone, and I would call like once every 2 weeks to see what was going on. Right, like now you can just text in real time.
Payphones. Wow. We just watched the not the movie, but the Netflix series of Richard Jewell in the 1996 Olympics. Yeah. And then the payphone was a big part of that. Like, wow, a payphone.
That movie was actually good too. I
gotta find the movie. Yeah, we gotta find the movie. I think when you see those types of documentaries that you lived through, they never suck because you're already invested into it. And then she put on right after that the Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber.
Yeah.
And for whatever, like I was never attached to that story, so I couldn't even get into the first episode.
I think that's it. I haven't watched it, but The Crown, which is the royal family documentary, the current season is in our lifetimes, right? Like it's Princess Diana and things, and it's the ratings for that are way high because of exactly what you're saying. People who are fans of that have lived through it, so it seems so much more powerful. Well, that's right? They resonate.
I've felt that because I mean most every ESPN 30/30 is during almost every viewer's lifetime. Well, I don't necessarily think of little kids watching that, but I remember. I think what really put that show on the map. I'm not saying it was the best one, but the topic and then in the duration of when that show came was the Duke lacrosse. And I remember first of all,
I think that was the first one I remember being a 30 for 30. I've probably seen others, but that was the first one I remember.
Yeah, there was a lot. It was out for a little bit, but that was the one. I think that show had gained some steam, and they marketed it. So if you're watching ESPN, it's coming, and then so I remember it like yesterday. That's number one. Number two, we had training camp there. Billy King was the GM during my time in Philly, and he went to Duke. So we went to Duke. So you kind of had a little bit of sense. Like when they have a 5-star hotel on campus, and if you drive a mile, maybe a little bit more, to go get a 6-pack of waters or something, yo, you're in a different town. Like you're in a different part of Durham. It's like Duke got like airdropped in there. And then the third thing that was so interesting is like, yo, I know the parents. I know the people, because those are the people that are in New York City. Like they're from they're from Long Island. Like it's all like that part is all really legit. It's like, you know, you people that walk in to drive with like a Duke lacrosse, like it's like, yeah, like we talk about it. Like, so them to watch it was riveting. I remember it was 9:22, and that was the first commercial. And I'm like, I feel like I've been watching something for 2 hours. It was unbelievable. I don't remember there being any payphones in the Duke lacrosse 30 for 30, but that's one of my, I would say that's my favorite 30 for 30.
I'll tell you, watching the Last Dance, the Bulls one, the series, and that was Sunday night highlight for me, going through like at the start of the lockdown in March.
Yeah.
Like that was like appointment, like it'd been a long time since appointment television in my life. Like I'll DVR stuff and watch it another time. But that was one I was like, I knew when it was coming on.
Yeah.
And I was tuning in.
Well, there was no really reason not to. Yeah. Nobody had shit else to do.
Nowhere else to go.
Yeah. So yeah, that was,
I think the first UFC was the first live sport back. Yeah, I was so excited to just watch live sport. Like the ESPN would be having cornhole and like wacky things on it, and I was watching them.
Well, didn't Bundesliga? That was the first, I think.
That was the first one to come back. That was first with that alley must have come in and made your little thing vibrate again.
I don't know why he's doing that. I have to maybe get a new thing here. I don't know. But all right. So let's on my mind, we have known each other many, many years, but I think we probably just crossed paths a lot. Working for Chris Poirier. I talked to him today a little bit. But then we probably didn't start to connect personally. I'm going to say 2014 when we were on the board at Nike. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, I think so. I think that was the most the cool thing with the Perform Betters is that we all get together. Yeah. But one of us is usually working, right? Like one of us is working, and so we're not like together. Nike was one of the first times we're there for like 4 or 5 days, and we're all like around together, right? From early AM to PM.
Yeah, like before Nike would be like, hey, what's up? Hey, you good? It wasn't much of a conversation. So I don't remember all the stuff that happened, but obviously, and you probably know what I'm getting at. I don't remember how the conversation got to that point, but we were in the Tiger, which is their viewing room, where I also got the idea for the air transducers under the couch. So like remember, we're sitting in all these like random chairs and couches, and there's air underneath your legs that's coincide with the base of the movie we were watching or the whatever. But you said to me something that it's never lost on me. I still probably fail at it. I know this because you use it in your talks about me. Where if you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to another. And it has not left me. It is clearly the bedrock of our friendship. Because something like that, you don't need to tell that to me. Like we went from, hey, what's up, to that level of conversation. And I had gotten a new home the year before, and I didn't use the pool. And I'm like, this is bullshit. And I think that might have been what I was describing, because I was on a little bit of a cool trajectory. I took a lot of opportunities, and I'm glad that I did. But I needed, that was just the right kick in the ass at the right time. from the right voice to the right ears at the same, because something like that is so benign that somebody else it could just go like that.
Yeah, like they're like cute saying. Yeah, cool saying. Yeah,
and I remember that to this day. Again, as I said, I remember too that you'll put that line in your presentations and point out that I am the good example of this. And you're really not the only one that says this about me. But I think I'm better. I say no a lot. I
think people can misinterpret it. Like it's not. There's some opportunities that are going to come up that you should definitely say yes to. Mm-hmm. But just be aware that it's when you say yes, you did say no. So don't be afraid to say no, because something's got to give at every step of it. Right. Yeah. And it sometimes it's hard to know. Like there is this, I think there's a part, like, to be a little more subtle with it. There's a yes, no, and there's a yes, but maybe not right now.
Right. Yeah, that too.
Like, but it's just that awareness of, like, you worked so hard to have a house with a pool that you could not enjoy. Why did you do that? Like, it's just a little piece of it, right?
Yeah, yeah. Looking back, that summer I didn't go in the pool because international basketball was a little different, and I think I was in beautiful Caracas, Venezuela for several weeks. What a wonderful place that is. But that's it's and there might be another category. I just gave a hard no to an opportunity, and I was telling Kyle, who's one of the physical therapists that works with me in the city, is like, look. I'm not saying no as a negotiation. Like, I'm saying no because this doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Like, this is we're not doing it. We're not, like, this isn't work. This isn't going to work. So I said, now the reality is, I'm pretty sure they don't have other interests or options, for this role that they require, which is, taking money off their board, like a partner kind of thing. And it went from a hard no to how do I say no? And it wasn't like I said it has to be these parameters. And it's like, all right, hey, the horse from behind is now in the lead, and we got to ride that one. And it was very interesting because it wasn't a ploy. Like, it wasn't like, well, yeah, let's gut punch them and see what happens. See if they get back up. It wasn't that at all. It was like, look, this doesn't make any sense right now. There's no way that this can work. And now it appears that it will be the primary choice moving forward. So it's and you know what, though? I usually say no to others because I didn't think that the financial commitment was quite right. I think sometimes in New York City right now, people still think it's 2017. So as I communicated, like, I wasn't offended. It wasn't like it was completely ridiculous, but I thought there was other options out there that would be a better financial decision. However, the length was, I'm like, dude, there's no way. Like, I said, there's no way.
The other stuff, the non-financial compensation.
Yeah, because, can we monetize that financial commitment? Yes. But if we agree to this length of term, there's going to be other opportunities that are, like, there's no way this is going to be the best option for the length of this term. And, it's been a very comfortable communication with these folks and they got it. Like, I didn't say it has to be this, it had to be that, but that was where I explained to Kyle, I said, like, no, we're saying no. If we agree to this term, that means for that period of time, we're saying no to these things that we don't even know what's going to come up.
Yeah, you've got to stop other opportunities as a result that you don't even know exist yet. I remember being with Men's Health years ago, and they had me on an exclusive contract with them. And I remember negotiating, like, there needs to be a do nothing dollar figure attached to this. Like, if you want me to turn down work just because, we need to start with not the work you're going to give me, a number for me to not do anything on the side, right? Like, and
absolutely,
it's you have to pay to say no. And I think it's important whenever you take on something, like, for the people that are listening, and what are you going to stop doing? Something's got to give, right? So when you've got an opportunity that requires almost exclusive use of you, then I don't know what other opportunities are coming, and we're being hypothetical, but they're gonna come. Yeah, right. Yeah. And if we're going to commit to this contract and be a person of our word and follow, which of course you would be, then we have to assume other opportunities are going to come that I will turn down. So this has to make sense going forward.
And that's I did actually articulate that to some degree. Where, look, if we already know I'm moving to Florida, I'm still going to have a presence in New York City, but right now, if I lose my number one guy because he wants to move on, it's not like I have him under contract and I wouldn't even do such a thing. Then what? I can't put myself in that situation. That's not really a say no to something else. A story. If they had found me 1 month earlier in the summer, like after I left Marsoc, if they had got me a month earlier, I'd have a Stanley Cup, because the Los Angeles Kings had talked to me and a number of other people. And part of the negotiation was they would not allow me to continue with any of the other stuff, because at that point, the first DVD was like exploded and whatever, speaking and whatever. And I threw a number, and they're like, "You make that much off doing all that other stuff?" I'm like, "I probably make more, but I'm doing, let's see." They're like, "Well, even without that number, you'd be the highest paid strength coach in the NHL." I'm like, "Okay." I had to protect myself, but it was also a situation. Look, I just moved on from a pretty high profile job, moving totally across the country. I'm not quite sure how much money you actually need to live in LA. Especially with the Kings. I don't know if they still are, but practice facility is not exactly right next to the arena.
No, it's still quite. I don't know exactly where it is, but it's a commute. The NBA teams are similar. Like, it's not, their training and where they play are not the same places.
Yeah, so where you live is a factor. Yeah. So then where you live is a factor. What's it going to cost to live there? Not like it's cheap anywhere in LA. That was a whole say yes to one thing, and I let that go. And turns out, that year they won Stanley Cup. Now, that's not really that important to me. I want to win at everything I do, but it's not like I grew up in, suburban Edmonton and my life's dream is to hold the cup. So anyway, that's.
I think it still ties in with, like, when you say yes to something, you said no to something anyway, and potentially no to opportunities in the future. Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean don't take action and just sit because something better might come along, right? Well, that's not a way to live, but
the better foresight. Yeah, the better foresight you have, just like these financial guys, they can predict the market. You're going to bet on yourself.
You and I talked that, I know it was probably happening at the same time, but it definitely happened to me that Nike and Reebok called me within 10 days. I was buying sneakers my whole life, and within 10 days, they both approached me to work with them. Nike got in first.
Yeah, I did. Because Tom Plummer asked me to do it. I went to Reebok for something. Like, it was I just sat there, and it was really his business talk. And Reebok had their group. I maybe knew a handful of people there versus Nike. Where
they did a thing for a while. It was because Gray at one point was a master Reebok trainer, right?
That's way before my time. I mean, that's when you had to get a VHS tape to watch him mess around on a core board or some shit. They and somebody there tagged me in the Reebok thing. And I'm like, "Yo, please take me off this thing." Now, because I don't think being there would have violated my, the contracts that we had with Nike. It's not a good look. And people at Nike don't always accept logical things. At the time when we all signed, or no, I think I did some things before you did, because we were doing those camps, like
I did one camp without you, but it was right about the same, because I got into with Paul. It was just when it was still Spark. But I did one camp without you, which was I think because I remember talking about you with Paul, but I think you were already involved, but it was before he brought us all together at those big meetings.
Well,
but when we were doing this is my, I did an FMS on all those NFL guys when we first came in. And surprisingly, they all move great. Like, you got amazing guy. Like, these are the best athletes there is. I'm like, oh, here you go.
Yeah. Well, the first time I ever went to Nike, at that time, I had more Under Armour than anybody not in Baltimore. So I had some Nike, and so I'm wearing all my Nike stuff. But my backpack, I never registered to me like that was Under Armour. And Keith was like, yeah, we're going to need to do something about that. I'm like, really? It's that serious? They're like, yeah, it is. Like, not to me or not to him, as in Keith. But so here's what happened. I took my backpack and I put it into Lee Burton's suitcase, which was actually quite full. And the best way to describe Lee Burton's suitcase was like Quado from Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like where Quado is like sticking out of their head. My backpack was like this shape that was like protruding from Lee Burton's backpack just because they would have flamed somebody for seeing an Under Armour. I mean, I even have like Nike, I even have Nike glasses. Like I can't, like if I didn't have that, if I had a competitive brand, walking around on campus, some, preppy looking dude with a button down and jeans is going to look at you cross-eyed. Like they're going to know. It's an interesting place.
That was good. That was good times up there. That was a good little, like, the intention for that was really cool.
Yes, it was. Like, it's so disappointing. It's so disappointing that whatever happened, it's no longer what it could have been, because that group. Well, look, maybe you bring that many studs together. I know now that probably something maybe not so good would have happened, because you have so many strong minds. And if you don't have like elite level leadership and organization where everybody feels like they're contributing, because even in the beginning, I had a huge project, and I was told not only by the contract, but I was told, like, don't tell anybody, don't. And then other people, you remember we were in that big meeting, and other people that I had no issues with, would I think of him, to be a measuring stick for movement? No, I would not. But I don't, I mean, everybody should get to look at it. Everybody should get to contribute. This isn't my thing. I was doing what I was asked and then contributing it to the program. And they felt that and then I even remember saying, like, no, I'm afraid to show it to people. And then I was like, no, I'm not afraid for your feedback. I'm afraid because
of my contract.
This machine is gonna, send me home, and it's but to bring all those people together and to the opportunities that so many of us got.
I remember talking to, it was you and Struthers, Tony, and I remember saying it feels like we've had this palette of all these amazing colors, but if we're not careful, we're just going to squirt them all together and end up with this brown mess, right? Like we've got to make sure that we're using everybody appropriately to come together. And it towards the beginning, it was definitely it felt that way, and it's towards the end, we were all giving our input and nothing was really coming in shape. It would have been better in smaller groups, but it was potentially, it was still amazing,
I still have stuff that's still in the wrapper, so I'm good. I have at least 5 or 6 boxes of shoes that are still not even open, and I might know 1 or 2 people that if I need something.
I remember the very first year we'd done something, and for everybody, the compensation was some finances, and then it was basically a credit card for the store where you could get stuff that you have like a gift card. But what I didn't know is if you didn't use it up, it doesn't roll over to when your contract renews. Right. So the next year, I remember just buying like ridiculous stuff in December to make sure that it went to zero.
There's stuff that. So the way it worked, you got paid, and then you got your pot of money, and we would have our own special website, which now it looks just like the real website. It says it's not that mechanical looking other thing that we
I
had.
remember being annoyed that some of the stuff that was on the real website wasn't in our
because
website.
they were only because they viewed and that's the same for really any of the departments.
Yeah.
When you're an asset for a department, you're only going to get access to the kit that they want you to wear that promotes their brand. So there were certain things you might have wanted that you couldn't get because for whatever I think we were in Spark. That was So if it didn't drive Spark in some way,
if it wasn't black, green, or yellow, it was tough.
Right. Hey, you could get these $150 golf shirts. I don't know how that helps Spark, but there was stuff that I would buy based on what you said. Like, dude, I got to blow this money because I wouldn't even understand how the taxes work. Because if you knew you got $100 and you spent $100, you're supposed to get taxed on $100. Yeah. But it would be like 38. I bought a $275 Nike running jacket. It's like a windbreaker. Never in a million years would I ever pay this much for this jacket. And I go to, I don't know if you know this, I go to Disney a couple times a year down in Orlando. Did you know that?
I feel like we had that conversation before. Do you know that in California there's a private club at Disney?
We'll get to that.
Not everybody can get into.
We'll get to that. So I pack, it rains obviously all the time in Florida. And I took the running jacket because it had a hood. I put on the jacket while it's raining. I'm like, all right, everybody's paying $15 for a garbage bag to the poncho to put over. And I get out my jacket. I start walking. It's like dry. Like I start looking at the jacket. It's like Rain-X. Like the rain was afraid of my jacket. I would have bought like 5 this is like because I guess if you're a runner, which I don't want to run to the store, if it's raining, you don't get wet. Like you just put the hood up, you tie it up, and whatever the material was is this like rain repellent.
I think that's the part that I don't want to say people don't understand about Nike. It's a laboratory up there. They're not just trying to bring out cool looking shirts. Right, there's some
special place
behind what they're doing. Right, I think the sneakers that the guy break the marathon record in.
Yeah,
like they're designed to give forward propulsion an extra certain percent, and there's talk of making them illegal in road racing because they're like it's.
I think they are.
It could be like there's some.
Whatever he did doesn't count. Like it's not.
His race was it's the fastest ever. It's not an official record, but he had shoes and pacers. But I remember going up and I flew up once to work with a soccer player, from England. I don't even know if I'm allowed to tell you now. Like, I'm sure you know who it is, but that was complete. Like it was all over the news where he was going. And I wasn't allowed to tell anybody that I was going. But I remember flying up and like they just gave me clothes at the airport to go change because we have to arrive in uniform, right? And I wasn't in the and it was all Sparkier. But like, go change there before we left the airport.
Yeah, we. I have some clients that are from Ireland, and I see them multiple times a week. We were talking about that fellow this morning, ironically, because I'm sure you remember, like he can't stand on one leg, and I said to like sometimes, when you can't do that, it makes you very, very deceptive. And I also remember when I had the privilege to be the second American brought into Manchester United. He just grabs 70s and just starts back. I'm like, okay. Now I don't remember seeing anybody else there being akin to because the Man U weight room is like a legitimate Division I football weight room. It's very impressive. So. I
remember being like one of these moments where you're like, you're excited to find things you're not good at. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're like when somebody who's that like apparently that good, and you're like, I don't know, this is it, son. Like this is the peak of your career. There's not a whole lot left. You're like, whoa, look at this. But like when you talk about like the ability to compensate, and have success, like.
there's NFL players that some directly, some through people that'll call me and and et cetera. Guys that they're not like 4-3 burners, but they're like really shifty. Like they're really very elusive. And one of them in question, he's a starting quarterback in the NFL right now, and he has what my buddy, the strength coach there, would describe as, because he's using my terms, he basically has ski boots on his feet. He has like no dorsiflexion, and he's still like this incredibly shifty, kind of running type quarterback. He's not like Michael Vick, but he's a real deal starting in the NFL. And I'm like, well, now look, from a durability standpoint, and he has already had an ankle surgery in his college career, but I'm like, okay, you could argue that is that going to make him bad? Well, he's already a very, very special player. And I think when in football, when you change levels and you're moving, you might look in your upper body like you're going to change levels and get small and contracted, but it doesn't happen in your ankles. So you have a different strategy that you're the defender. That I said that might actually make him very elusive, and we really have to come to a decision that if we really invest in improving his dorsiflexion, does that make him less elusive? And then where do we really believe that that's going to make him a more durable player? Is he going to last more years?
But it's also one of those. Remember, like Michael Johnson runs incorrectly. Right, like this is technically wrong.
Yeah.
Right. We could fix him. Like when we've taken our speed certifications, we could fix him.
Yeah. I remember standing on the sidelines once and watched Vernon Davis. I don't remember where he went to college, but he was a tight end for the 49ers at that time. To see 6'5", 260, just like thundering down the sideline with his toes pointed like this. Like. I think he's doing something okay. Like this is not a problem.
Were you at the camp when Jerry Rice came out? Were you at that one?
Which one?
When one of the NFL camps at Nike when Jerry Rice was like the guest.
No, I don't remember. No. I don't remember Jerry Rice.
He was fun. Just talking. Like I got to talk to him a little bit, and like he was saying, he goes that he wasn't making fun of strength conditioning or things, but he was just like, my numbers were never good. Anything.
Yeah. Well, I can I'm going to see your Jerry Rice story. I'm going to raise you my Jerry Rice story. All right. I did a phony phone call. Hold on. Not a phony phone call, but I prank texted Jerry Rice. What now? It was hilarious.
Look at Ali joining in with the we. Ali, you had nothing to do with that. Charlie did that by himself.
That's how I got. So here, I'll just say I put out.
That's my story.
So can I tell it? Like, so Ali has done a lot of work at the Michael Jordan Classic, which I don't even know what it's called now, in Vegas, the golf tournament.
Yeah.
So she kind of, I don't think we're out of line saying she looks the part a little bit. So some of these professional athletes want to holler. So she had Jerry Rice's number in her phone. I'm like, give me that. And he's like, I think we got about 3 or 4 exchanges before he went green and blocked the number. So Jerry Rice, yeah.
Well, I guess we're both the same as that we both can't text Jerry Rice right now.
Yeah, pretty much. Hey, you brought up. I brought up one of the things I really like doing, and I know you.
What you said.
What did I say?
You said that you're a Pete Gas.
Oh yeah, I said I was someone else calling from someone else's phone. It was just the best. So I'll say something like 30 minutes ago and then tie it back together. Like, so I mentioned before that you don't really live near LA, but you're in LA County.
Yeah.
So several years ago, I messaged you and Rachel, and I'm like, I invite you to go do something down in Disneyland, which really isn't near LAX. But when you're not from the part of a country, you kind of think everything is close.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, why don't I invite them? I know they're north of LA, so they could just come down and pick me up at LAX, and we continue south to Anaheim to go to Disney. So you did not mention that we're basically looking at what could with traffic. What, that's 4 hours, 3 hours.
Yeah,
So,
I left the Tuesday for the Thursday where we're going.
all right, so I was introduced to her from Don. I think it's so easy to give people credit and say thank you, so that's totally fine. But she kind of became someone that I worked with quite a bit, Scarlett Johansson, and Scarlett is a very, very big Disney person like me. So we will always talk. I'm treating her for an hour up on the table. I remember I went to her house when she was pregnant, and we're just doing manual therapy, and Kristen Bell comes on the phone, and I'm like, yo, make her say something like Anna, make her say something like Anna. Like, so basically she would say, like, whenever you want to go do something at Disney, just tell me, and her assistant will take care of it. So she told me one time that she had just gotten into Club 33 in Disneyland, which basically has a 20-year waiting list and a significant price tag. They let her jump the line, but she still had to pay to come in. And I'm like, oh my God, you got into Club 33. And she's like, yeah, you want to go? I'm like, dude, I'm going to be in LA next week, or like some kind of short period of time. She's like, so we just talked to the assistants in the other room. She's like, yeah. I'm like, let me set it up and then put me down for 4. So I message you thinking that you're close to LAX.
You're like, you said Club 33. Google that shit.
Yeah, no. That's what I was going to say. It's like, I invite you. I'm like, hey, do you, Rachel, want to come to Club 33 next week? Or whatever it was. And you're like, what is that? I'm like, go Google that shit. So like 10 minutes later, you're like, yeah, we'll go. So hold on. What
I think
did
I still
you do?
have napkins from that. Like, went to the bathroom and the toilet paper is monogrammed.
Yeah, that's very low class. What did you do? What did you do? Who did you ask? Like, what did you do to determine if Club 33 was worth your time?
I can't. I've got friends that are so hardcore with Disney they didn't believe me. Right? I remember.
Oh, you asked friends. You knew they were big time Disney folks, and you're like, yo,
have you heard of this? Like, what I thought. I'm like, because this could be Charlie doing a prank Jerry Rice call, right?
could have. All right.
But that was ridiculous. Like, it's a secret entrance.
Yeah. So you bought in. It was me, you, Rachel, and Dave Sabo, who's one of my good buddies, and he's close to. He's more in Orange County, and we got in, and based on when I landed. Good thing I set it for like a middle of the afternoon lunch because I didn't appreciate how long it would take, and et cetera. And I'm like, okay, like here's how this works. Like, just chill. Like, just follow me. Like, so if you don't know where, like, if you didn't know, we didn't know where to go, you never find it because the door just looks like a wall. And we're there for lunch. Button. We were dressed like I would just wear gear if I'm going to Disney because I'm looking to move. I got to go quick. Yeah. So we had to get dressed up. Not sure. Dinner, I'm told, is shirt and tie, but we just all had polos and whatever. Yeah. And you come in and it's like you buzz in. I'm like, yeah, Weingroff, party of 4. And then somebody opens the door like it's this innkeeper at a haunted man. Mm-hmm. Because I'm sure like people that do know where it is, they try to sneak in or whatever. Yeah. So she lets us in, and there was like water and stuff, right? There was like drinks. We're like, okay, hey, let's get drinks. It's free. Yeah. And then another lady.
We weren't sure if we're allowed to take pictures, like if that was classless. We're like let's not take pictures until we get permission.
Yeah, because we can't get Scarlett in trouble. Like this is not a good look. So I remember at that point, we're all kind of like on edge, like we're looking around, like, okay, God, like we're in this. Like, yeah, I think Club 33 is probably up there with being like an astronaut on the space shuttle. Like this is how exclusive this is. And this lady starts walking down this spiral staircase, and she goes, "Oh, hi, Charlie." I'm like, "Hi." I look around. How did you know I was Charlie? Welcome to Club 33. I'm like, oh my God, like this is so cool. So what do? We went up there, and it was fairly busy, right? Like it was,
Yeah.
yeah.
But we were trying not to figure out who everybody was too. I was
Yeah.
like, who are these guys? And they're all looking at us. Who are these guys?
Yeah. Anybody look familiar? And I think they knew that we were guests of Scarlet, but it would probably be unprofessional on their part to, which we found later in the story was what happened. But so we sat there. The server was like an actor, like he was unbelievable, right? He was hilarious. And everybody it's like these big time restaurants where any one of us could have eaten all four of the plates. And then we started taking like pictures like this, didn't put it down. It showed up on Facebook this week where you're holding the.
Well, it's funny because I did it as we went on a Thursday, but it popped up this week as a throwback Thursday that I'd done about it. Like with me holding the things, but it popped up as one of my memories this week. That was a good time.
So, we're there middle of the afternoon, and then you notice like we were having drinks because one of the gimmicks in the Magic in Disneyland, it's the only place to have alcohol, and
that's right. Yeah. You can't. There's nowhere in California anyway that they don't have
across the way in California Adventures, the other park. That you can have it in there, but in Disneyland Park, which would be like the Magic Kingdom in Orlando.
Yeah.
Now in the Magic Kingdom in Orlando, in certain restaurants you can get alcohol, but that was like a thing with Walt, who probably drank a lot, but he knew that if you let people drink, it would turn into chaos. Sometimes, which still happens anyway. Where some of these horrible fights and whatever. So we started drinking and. Next thing you know, we're drinking more, and we're the only people left in the entire restaurant. And they were fine. They were like, "Yeah, you want to stay? It's fine." I mean, I didn't think it wasn't cheap, but it wasn't like ridiculous.
Yeah, it wasn't. I think we got sent over a bottle of something from Scarlet too.
Oh, that's right. And
that tipped us over the edge.
Yeah. So then we started walking around, and that the part of Disneyland that it's in is New Orleans
Don't
Square.
Tell people, Charlie.
It's okay. It's New Orleans Square, where then we went outside. We were like, "Hey, are we allowed to go outside and drink more?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." And we're like looking down where you can clearly see everybody down, but the way the trees are, they can't see you.
Yeah.
And we're like, it was very much like if you were in New Orleans and I guess throwing beads or whatever. I've been on the street. I've never been up there.
Yeah, the Bourbon Street area. Yeah, it's definitely that feel.
Yeah. So my favorite part of the story is like it's time to leave. And now we're around like 4:00, 4:15, and they're getting ready for dinner. And at these classy big time restaurants, the chef is addressing all of the workers. Because at these big time restaurants, you could ask the busboy a question and he'll know the answer. A very, very high level of service and professionalism. But then you got four drunk hobos. And everybody knows we can't get into Club 33 without Scarlett Johansson.
We clearly did not get in on our own merit at this
Not at all. But the only way out is to walk right through the chef addressing all these people. And we're like, I look back because I was always walking first because if they were there, I don't know why. I was in charge. And I'm like, oh my God, like, dude, we have to, like, there's no way around it. You couldn't like walk behind either because the chef was on like this wall, and then the only thing was to split the Red Sea.
Yeah.
And now I'm buzzed, and I'm like, I'm pointing at everybody like, yeah, we're gonna go right this way, and everybody started cracking up, and that was. But I think we finally acted like tourists on the way out, where we bought like all the
We went exited through the gift shop for real.
Yeah, and that's where
we got a gift for one of Rachel's friends who's like a multiple year Disney season holder who spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars there, and this is the greatest gift you could ever give her.
Oh,
right?
Awesome.
Like they couldn't, like, she can't, like, how did you get in? And I'm like, I can't tell you.
Well,
I
she could
can't
watch this.
actually explain to you how this worked. Like if I told you, oh, my friend changed the Black Widow, you're like, sure he does. Now tell me how you got in there.
Well, that was when some of the workers started to ask questions. That was like when we were buying like mugs and Mickey ears. That's when they started to ask.
But I'm keeping the receipt because it says Club 33 on the top. I'm have that.
I don't remember. I mean, I know I have because I collect mugs from Disney, so that's hands down what I got. But now that there's Club 33 in the Orlando parks, like I've been to 3 out of the 4 there. I haven't been to the one in Animal Kingdom. So that also falls under the membership has its privileges category.
Yeah,
but they're different.
We kept saying that towards the end.
Yeah.
Once we had a few beers, the membership had its privileges.
Yeah. That was a couple years after our first story. What does Allie wanted? Will you wear Mickey ears with your? Oh, she's asking you if you're gonna wear your Mickey ears at the wedding. Like you're gonna.
Sure. Yeah. You got a white Nikes, a pink suit, and Mickey ears, whatever you need.
Yeah. Right. So. That was
leave us alone. We're having a conversation, Ali.
We went on a couple other rides, but that was
no, that was pretty cool. That was the that was one of those act like you belong, act like you've been here before. I went away.
Oh man, I gotta find what picture because I remember some like. I think when at that time it wasn't a phone. I had like a camera, and I gave it to and he didn't know how to do it right, or because there were some pictures that like I know I don't have, so it must have been from I didn't take out my camera, but like I hit the ones on my phone I have. So
I remember taking a sneaky picture of the menu, like
in Orlando you're allowed no one will say anything if you take a picture, but they know how you got in, whether you're the member.
that gives it away, right?
So if you post it, like you're like, no, you can take pictures, you just can't post it. You can't put it on social media. I don't take any pictures because I'm not trying to be that guy to begin with. Like I'll take a picture of like one thing, or like the door to get in, which you would think is like a closet, and then all of a sudden it's like walking into the chocolate room, like. Yeah, everything you want to view in paradise, simply look around and view it. Like, but the door is never just like the one in California. You would never ever know that's.
I remember telling Don that I'd been at Club 33 with you. I don't think I knew him at the time, or I only known him a little bit. I remember telling him, Donnie, that I'd been there with you, and he's like, "Oh, dude, you're in the inner circle." Like Disney is very serious to Charlie.
Yeah, But that was so one time. Allie can't hear now. I think there was another Disney trip that likely contributed to my previous divorce. So we're checking into the hotel that. So Scarlett would never I would never ask her for that. I said if you want to put us on the list for tickets and whatever privileges come along with that, that's cool. But you're not paying for my flight or my hotel. So we check into the hotel, and then the lady at the counter says, Dr. Weingroff, there's this envelope here. I don't know what it is. I'm like, so yeah, sure. If it's got my name on it, let me have it. It was like when you go, like your tickets are all electronic, like they're in your phone or whatever. But you could also get like a hard, it's like a little credit card. So that's what was inside. But on the front of the envelope, it said, Charlie Weingroff, 4 park hoppers, courtesy, Marvel Studios. And I'm like, okay. And then I go like this. She's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, look. And I show it to the girl at the counter. And she's like, because I don't think they're allowed to react to certain things.
Yeah.
But she reacted. I have a picture of that. That is cool. Like not Scarlett Johansson, not Black Widow, courtesy Marvel Studios. And that was an awesome trip because she put on like let's say you complain about something one of the strategies that they will use is they'll shut you up with fast passes, like meaning you just jump the line. Yeah. So in our tickets you get 3 fast passes that you can go program yourself. And she put on a whole bunch extra where you basically just do whatever you want. And the we call them like FU fast passes. Or like, oh, I'm sorry, sir, do you have a fast pass? Yeah. What time is it for? It's like anytime I want o'clock. And the first day we had no idea how to use them because it's basically meant like you just go. You just do whatever you want and you just then the second day we went to like a kiosk and had can you look in our I'm pointing at my wrist because you get a magic band. They don't do this in California. And they scan it and they're like, oh, you have the official term is out of inventory fast passes. They're customer service tools that they give you. And they're, yeah, so just, if you ever want to go on something, as long as it's not overlapped with the ones that you picked, you can just go. I said, hold on. So like right now we can just go to Soarin' and just walk on. They're like, yeah. I'm like, oh my God. Like if you, this is like you can't buy. Like you can't. This is for people that know about Disney to have like unlimited, do whatever you want fast passes. Yeah, that's the real deal. That's solid. Cool. So yeah, I haven't seen her in a little bit because she moved uptown and in her mind just too far to come back down to Soho. So. Yeah. But
where are you based there now? Because Drive is not open anymore, right?
Yeah, I have an office at 57th and 3rd. Not there is a gym component to it, but not like Drive. And it was something that a client who became a colleague, he had extra space. And
I think I remember one there. What was that? Wasn't there a physical therapy place there a long time ago? The Excelsior Club or something down there?
In Drive?
No, down at 57th and 3rd. I used to train people at 57th and Lex.
So in New York, if I don't go to that area, I don't know anything. So
you just go to your spot.
No, this would not have been like a big place. This was, the whole gym itself. What? So you're gonna say 150, 300, 350. Yeah. It can't be 1,200 square feet. The whole gym.
I just remember a friend of mine being because it was close to the lift gym, and he was trying to get us to move over. It was something small like that. There's a little club there, but it was. No, I know the area. I used to like that used to be there.
Oh, it's a
very different now. I would expect it.
57th and 3rd compared to Soho is like a different country. Like it's a much different clientele. It's different. It's different enough. So Don'll do what he decides. But we're moving to Florida, and
that's right.
I have not been more focused on a plan in a long time, and so
I thought you'd be gone already. I thought with this COVID would have speeded it up.
No, COVID put it basic. Well, the lease that we had to renew up here basically put that into 1 year. So that's why we haven't gone.
Yeah.
But I have a short term, so we're gonna get a space, and then we have some clients / investors that are gonna help us because they have some interests in a building, and see if you can put together like a group of people like we had at Nike, where lots of different individual businesses, but everybody's got a good secret handshake where the client or the customer won't know that these are all separate businesses, but then everybody will be part of the real estate business, renting from themselves. So you have some advantages business-wise, and that's going to happen. But I'm still going to stay in New York because, my relationship with hospital special surgery, and, but people will fly, to Florida. They'll fly to New York and, put up the bat signal. Yeah, I'll be there. So it's, I think it's, and look, these the numbers are not premier. Like you can make it. People can make it happen. If they're starting from zero. But it's just like what you're seeing out there. The amount of gyms that are closing in New York is because they just run out. Like they might have had a fair lease when they started it, but that lease is not fair anymore. Like it's not fair market. If you jump in now and the landlord understands that they're not going to get 2016, 2017 per square foot, numbers.
Yeah.
you can do some things for these gyms that have stayed open. The box in a box model.
Yeah.
So it's that's.
I think there's a chef down in Los Angeles, and he's refusing to close his outdoor dining. He's kind of been all over the TV here. Just he's fighting the state. He's doing
That's
lawsuits.
allowed?
Outdoor. Well, he's just basically making a protest, and he's just fighting, and he'll take the fine, and he's just going to continue to fight. And his thing is like, I'm not trying to make a stance. He goes, I'm not trying to hurt people. He goes, I have no other options. I have no way to feed my family. Like, I have nothing else. And because I've got staff that I've had to let go, and the government are giving me nothing. He goes, and my landlord's working with me. He goes, but it's, you can get food to go and you can eat food on the street, but the restaurant can't serve you in an outdoor area. Like, it's again a logic thing.
Yeah.
If you go to the Grove, you can get food to go and sit in the communal area and eat your food if you want.
Yeah.
Right. But they couldn't give it to you on a plate to eat. Like that's the COVID comes in.
Yeah, there's a lot of the big gyms in New York are already closed.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to get into too much of the specifics about Drive because it's Don's gym, it's Don's business. But I would be very comfortable saying that if it was me, I would have done it the exact same way that he did.
Yeah. We talked prior to this. He was talking about because of opportunity, because of the opportunity cost, because of everything else that he was doing. He was thinking then of maybe just a smaller place, just to have a home base. We talked about that in Rhode Island. Last year.
Yeah, but as far as when he closed and his decision to remain, like just be out of the game in New York City at the moment. I don't know. I don't know any angle to say that he shouldn't do that. And if I did, I wouldn't be saying it on here to begin with.
Yeah, true.
But I think it's the and his situation's a little bit different. Like he sent me a link of some gym in New York that closed up, and I'm like, is that a top flight gym? And he's like, you mean golf? I'm like, no. Is it like a big time gym? Like, because I don't know. Like New York is almost like Vegas to me. Like I know Vegas almost like Disney, but I can go for 3 or 4 days and that's it. Like there's not New York is like so confined to me. Like I don't feel comfortable after a little bit, especially if I'm not busy. So I don't know where these other places are. I don't know how to get to certain places or whatever. I get off the subway and I look. I'm like, fuck, which way? Like if it's not Broadway, I don't even know which way to go. Like so. But that apparently it was a gym of similar prestige to Drive, and he's like, no, that's a good place. It's a big time place. I'm like, oh man. So if the big time places now look, those are bigger. They probably have more expensive lease, but we've I think I'm in a different situation too because I can go to a facility. And we can communicate, and like they can leverage me to a degree.
Definitely.
But if as long as I'm comfortable with that, to get the number to something that's really attractive, it can work. But not everybody has that angle, and certainly not every single person is interested in that angle from a tenant, if you will. Yeah. So that's how it goes, man. It's. I just hope it changes.
How do you think it's going to play out? What do you think?
In New York or everywhere?
Every state's very differently. You're only going to be familiar with where you live, right?
So New York is probably what are the businesses that I'm most familiar with? Restaurants, gyms, and finance. So the financial people are not they're going to leave the city, except for the ones that are like, I guess their department would be like wealth management. Like they're the ones that are the schmoozers. So they kind of have to show a presence there. But I think restaurants that can somehow invest in their space to expand their commercial kitchen and rent the commercial kitchen to other entities, because that's the way people are going to consume dining. Like that's how they're going to consume. Well, I don't know how you describe it. Pre-made food.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be able to go to a place and sit down.
Even if
idea.
they'll open that up again, the capacity restrictions are here to stay.
Yeah. And even if they're not, like I think about this all the time. Do I even can I imagine myself getting on a plane without a mask? Because number one, the mask doesn't hurt me, and I'm like, even if it does nothing, it doesn't hurt me. But like, I can't even visualize. Or like we watch TV.
So you're so used to flying right now. Like you're flying still every week.
Yeah.
So you're I haven't flown. My last flight was coming back from Austin in February with Perform Better.
Yeah.
That's I haven't been on a plane since then. Which is this is the longest I've not stayed. I've been gone for 2 nights since then from this house. This is the longest in 15 years that I've had any kind of run. Last year, I don't think I did 3 weekends in a row at home.
Yeah.
This year has been. I've only been away like two or 3 nights. Very different.
No, I've been. I think.
Luckily, Delta didn't take away any of my status. Like they've rolled it over for a year.
Yeah, is that what I think we talked about? Is that what you think they're going to do? Like so
far, it looks like it expires end of next year. And last year I went up a lot last year because I did 4 European trips and a trip to Russia. But this year it's not been. I
don't buy it. My app says the same thing, but I'll believe it when I see it. With restaurants, I think those restaurants will do better because even regardless of whatever drives the restrictions to change, I don't think people are going to go because New York New York as a residential location has this capacity, restricted. People have left. First of all, look, the reality is a lot of people, particularly ones that are in my clientele, they have multiple homes anyway, so they just leave. But I even had in Westchester County, which is north of New York City. You know this, but I don't know that everybody knows this. So I get a call from a client or a message. It's like, hey, you available on Tuesday? Look, I'm sorry, I'm really not coming into the city very much right now. I'm in Mamaroneck on Tuesday if that works. He's like, yeah, that's perfect. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, so I see him there. He's like, hey, not for nothing. What are you doing up here? They're like, oh, we're renting a house up in Darien. And then we're going to buy a house. Like, so we're up here looking for houses. That's why it was perfect. I pretty much thought you would be here. That's why I messaged you. I'm like, so you're done with the city? He's like, I'll never go to the city again. Because the people in a lot of professions are finding that they only live in New York City because they have to for their job. That's why they own these other homes and they deal with it. I mean, I know. Well,
even in the summer, it always cleared out. With anybody with money went to the Hamptons.
Yeah. Right. Or like the 6th and 7th borough of New York City is the Hamptons and Jupiter. Palm Beach County, Martin County down in Florida. So I have I would think that from my own whatever level of business knowledge I have is that if you can somehow knock out a couple tables and get another stove in there or whatever it is that a commercial kitchen would need, and then rent out your commercial space to people that want to cook, and then it basically has to be clean, just like an Airbnb and then they can make their food and then deliver it to people. I think when people can make that click, plus use their storefront as a way to hand the food to you that you buy, that's what's going to work. I mean,
I think it'll be interesting, as you're saying, like a lot of people live there because they had to work there.
Yeah.
And the real estate is so expensive, and the real estate for office is still expensive. So people can work remotely. That changes everything. And if people aren't commuting into the city, then the amount of money on tolls and subways and things and parking, it's going to change things dramatically.
Well, when up in 57th and 3rd, I try to find a new parking lot, and they're like, they don't open till 7. I'm like, what part? I mean, it's bizarre, like, because I don't know. And they're like, I got there. I did get there after 7. First of all, they only take cash. I'm like, well, he's like, you all right? I'm like, no, I got to make sure I have the cash because if you're not going to take my credit card. But he was like getting into it. He's saying, like a lot of their business was from the hotels. And the hotels just drop them because, like, if you valet at a New York City hotel, they don't keep your car at the hotel.
Yeah.
They have an agreement with a local lot. But as far as gyms, you know, I think the gym, you know, again, like, we're most close to this, so you want to be optimistic, and these are people you know, so you care about them. But I honestly think it'll run a little different than the restaurants, because in New York, whereas in other places, you can knock out your extra bedroom and make a gym or have a garage gym if you really want to. I have a client in Armonk, which is up here, Westchester County. We got him into a space in his garage for around whatever, $2,500. He's like, you just took 2 years of my Equinox membership, and you built me a better gym in my garage, and I will never go back to Equinox again. I will never have to deal with having to wait for something or deal with, you know, that. He's like, this is perfect because they have the space. In New York City proper, like Manhattan, you know, Queens, Brooklyn.
People don't have that extra.
You don't have the room. Yeah, you could buy, like, if you really want to buck up, you could buy like power blocks. You could buy whatever that old school device is. What's it called? The Chuck Norris machine or whatever.
The Total Gym.
Yeah,
the Bowflex.
There's a couple things you could get, like
Chuck Norris on TV the other day. Actually, still selling that.
You could get like the mirror or whatever. I mean, but I think so. I think because so many people live in such small spaces, they want to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know if it's similar in parts of LA. But
I think it'll be. I think the big box gyms that just to pay for access, they're gonna have a hard time. Like I can't.
So much space.
I think the whatever you call what we do, the boutique gym, the appointment based training, studio type stuff. I think will be different. I think that can survive because you can control who's coming. You can know who's coming. Like, there's a lot of things that you can put in place that you couldn't do at a Gold's Gym. So
well, I told you what we did at Drive, because we could do physical therapy, but the gym couldn't be open. Now that's not sustainable. I would never rent. I would never have a lease for like 8,000-9,000 square feet. You know, for even if we had 4 therapists, but we would keep the gate closed because in the building, if you had access to the elevator, you would just walk in the gym. So not only could I tell the clients that, hey, if you want to come, it will only be the people that are scheduled, which will never be more than this number. But also, if somebody walked in, like, I can't leave my client to go talk to them. You know, it's like, that would be the biggest pet peeve, when people would show up at Drive and just want to talk to me. Like, why would you think that? Like, you can't go into, you know, HSS and be like, oh yeah, I'd like to have a chat with David Alchek. What are you talking about? Like, you know, and then I'll hear it from Plumber and be like, hey, somebody's going to give you this amount of money and you're not going to talk to them. Tom, I'm with a client. Like, they did not have an appointment, so I couldn't afford that.
That's the same as like when you say yes to the client. I said no to the walk-in, right? Like, that's
and the text and the phone.
That's how I do it. Like, that's how I'm dealing with this. Like, I'm committed to this athlete right now. I'm committed to this patient. Right, like, that's what I've decided to do, and it's that, like, I've used the Steve Jobs line, and I don't even know if he said it, but Ashton Kutcher says it in the movie. We have a limited time here, and we can only do so many things. And right now, we chose to do this, so let's make it amazing, right? And that's like that patient. Like, that'd be ridiculous if you went to see somebody. Right? The person who comes to visit you might like to visit, say hi. But that would be ridiculous.
But these are like, I would get that a lot. These would be like prospective clients. They're like, I just want to talk to him for a few minutes. And I'm like, and then the girls would come back and tell me, like, okay, I don't know who that is. Please tell them I'm with a client, and I cannot, because, like, you ever been to Drive? Have you ever been in there?
Yeah.
So you know, if you're at the front desk, you can kind of look in the mirror and see. You don't have to, like, look around the corner. You can look in the mirror. So if you see me, in your mind, oh, he's right there, I can just go up and walk up to him, even though you're, like, out of sight because of the sight lines. But we would keep the gate closed so that not only did I have to deal with that, but that, like what you're saying, we could, appointments were not just appointments. The appointments were like the building was locked. You couldn't get in. Some other places that I'm at, like, they put a code on the door. So the only people, no matter what, including inspectors and whatnot, you can't just walk in.
That's useful.
No one can walk in unless you know the code, and we'll change the code periodically.
I think that type of, I mean, obviously it's not sustainable with it being a physical therapy supervised strength and conditioning model. But I think that type of model, like, it's going to be different and it's going to be very high priced, I would think, just because of exclusivity and capacity restrictions. Yeah. But I think that can survive. I think it's hard.
In New York, where people still have very, very favorable insurance, if the physical therapist is inclined to justify their time as physical therapy, which is only the physical therapist's choice to execute, and then the insurance company's choice to pay, you can still do very well, provided the physical therapist actually knows how to train people, which is a whole nother conversation. Which I'm sure if ask a lot of physical therapists in the city, do they know how to train people? Yes, they do. Just ask them.
Of course you do. I will ask a lot of personal trainers if they can do rehab better than physical therapists.
Oh yeah, let me show you my vibrating gun here. Like it's, I think gym restaurants is like how is like these big time restaurants, unless they totally go underground where there's like 11 tables and there's like a 6-8 month waiting list unless you know somebody. So if your capacity is 11 tables, what are you're gonna open up for 4 people? What are you doing? It's and then you got to bring in your chef. That's he's gonna get he or she's gonna get pissed because they can't be creative and do what they do when they're not. Yeah,
it's not like that. We told that with our guys when we moved to. We don't call it online coaching. We call it remote coaching. And you've always done that yourself too. Is that you're not there for every single run. You got the program and you see some of it, right? Your guys they train without your supervision. So we always call it remote coaching. But I told our guys, listen, I know this is not what you wanted to do. Is be on Zoom calls and emails and have a desk job. So if you want out, you can get out now. But I'm going to try to keep your jobs. But this is what it's going to look like right now. Right? Yeah. It looks very differently. That most of the workouts, anything that you're supervising was going to be outside with limited equipment, and anything that people were going to do in a real gym was in their home gym, with you designing the program, which is not what you wanted to be as a coach. So you could see a chef just like, this isn't what I wanted to do.
Implicit agreements. When those people agreed to come work with your gym, there was explicit agreements that maybe was on a document that they signed, but there's a whole bunch of implicit agreements that you still have to do, but you just never knew going in. And there's that's just how it goes. But I mean, and then from a real estate, some of the folks that I know, they're like at least 5 years, maybe 8 until things. Look, in New York City over the last couple of years, this is not a political statement. It's the fact. It's been very financially lucrative for a lot of people. There's if it ever gets back to that, minimum 5, maybe as long as 8. So people that still have money, money, as you know, wealth is never created; it's just transferred.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's going to transfer to people that already have a lot of wealth because they're going to buy up the buildings because they can sit on them or take less rent than what other people could take.
Yeah, they can. I've said that doing business consulting with gym owners or student course. That guy charges less than me. I'm like, you can't make those decisions based on what somebody else is doing. I could be a millionaire who's going to charge $2 a month for my gym to put everybody else out of business, and then I'm the only game in town. Some of these landlords, they can play that. They can lose money for a while and just
that's what's going to happen because they can play the long game, and in 8 years, they just doubled, their real estate.
Everybody.
Yeah, I saw a lot of that firsthand in 2012 when we dealt in my part of New Jersey when I lived there, Sandy, the hurricane, the storm, where people would come in. I learned the term vulture, where these houses would be destroyed. It looked like a wrecking crew came through, and then people would just buy that. So that because unless you had cash, you had to wait in line to get your house repaired. If you were waiting for federal money. So if you could pay, because the contractors, there's only so many, and that's happening now in Florida. There's only so many. They're going to take the work when you're going to pay cash. Like, they're not going to wait for you to take insurance.
No, that's the business. Well, that's what we talked about earlier. That's how you jump to the front of the line.
Yeah,
and there's nothing unethical about that, as far as I'm concerned. That's
nothing stops you.
Why would you not do that?
Yeah, because I think there's probably a portion of people that actually do have the cash to write a check. They just don't value what they're receiving from that, and they think that, I deal with that all the time. People can afford to work with, me or my therapists. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it's not that expensive. Because first of all, the amount that we charge is what these fly-by-night, bullshit commercial therapies charge insurance, and then they accept a percentage.
They accept a percentage of that, yeah.
They just don't believe that we're worth it. Like, that's all it is. It's not that they can't afford it. It's that, because if they really did believe that what we can accomplish in one session is similar to what they would accomplish in a month somewhere else, which also includes getting them out of physical therapy and into a surgeon, they would pay it. They would pay it in a second. They just don't believe.
We have a game that we play. If I have an envelope full of cash, and you give me 50% of what's in the envelope, I'll give you the envelope full of cash, and you can only ask one question, right? You can only ask one question. The only question you'll ask is how much is in the envelope, so you come in at the right number. Not how much can I afford. You're like, how much is this worth? Like, how much is the value? Like my knee hurts, and you're like, oh, I can fix it for $1,000. I'm like, I don't know if I can afford $1,000. My knee's not worth $1,000 then. Right?
No, it's I firmly believe
value,
because
value is the key thing.
I think people only think that from the New York City or this area clientele that I only see Scarlett Johansson's and I only see Wall Street billionaires and capital venture, sports team owners. I see people that I know are making significant decisions, with their money because they believe, or someone has led them to believe that we can help them. And there's also a very clear understanding that this isn't 3 times a week for 4 weeks. But, because that's what people think. They're like, I can't afford that I'm like, and sometimes it's just a conversation. That's when I will talk to people. And I'll do the best I can to sell. We're like, so in your case, because you have, you know how to train, we'll be able to show you what you can do on your own. And I'll look you in the eye and be like, that doesn't always work like that. But if it does work for you, I'll tell you that, and you'll never see me again. You'll have the information that you need, and you would now likely save a significant amount of money. And also, if you put a value on the time, even if it's just 15 minutes to get there and get home, that's 30 minutes. Even if you literally walk right into your service at the therapist, and that's how we can, or people that run this model can they have a job satisfaction that's just I go to these other I think of these other commercial outfits. They wouldn't even know what to do if they had one person for 30 minutes, much less an hour. They wouldn't know how to craft a strategy because they're so used to this, how they divide their time.
Belling in these little minutes, right? Belling the appropriate little segments,
8 minutes. That's the minimum you need for one unit. So
8 minutes of ice. 8 minutes of stim.
Yeah, 8 to 22. Because if it's 7 minutes, you can't do it. You can't.
It doesn't work, right?
No. But
brother, we can go on nearly 2 hours. I gotta get out of here.
We'll call it a day then. I think people probably think I'm off this, so my buzzing is all these damn text messages. All right, hey, good to go, man. That's I hope everything there and for everybody, it turns into something better than it is tomorrow. I don't know if that's a Disney song or something, but here it is. It's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow, which comes right at the end of every day. So that's what I hope is for everybody.
Hakuna Matata. That's a wonderful phrase.
Yeah. All right, man. Well done. Thank you. Tell Rachel we said hello, and
I'll see you very soon.
Good stories from Club 33. Best day ever.
All right. Cheers, pal.
All right,
see you later.
well.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.